All right, here we go with day 2 of completing the square. If you didn't watch the video yesterday, you gotta start watching videos when you're at home. Let's run through it real quick. I'm not gonna do a lot of explanation, we've got a lot to get to. So if I want to complete the square, I take half that middle number and square it. So that'd be 25, and then it's x plus 5 squared. That middle number comes in here. If you want to know why, go watch the video yesterday. So if I want to put the next number in here, I take half this middle number, square it, is 4, and then this factors to x minus 2 squared. Half the middle number is 3.5, square it, and then this factors to x plus 3.5 squared. So that's how you start to complete the square. But notice we didn't solve anything yesterday. So now let's talk about, we're going to put some equal signs in there, we're going to solve. So in order for you to complete the square, normally on all these other quadratic stuff that we did, I want it equal to 0. For completing the square, I don't want it equal to 0. I want the constant on the right and the variable stuff on the left. Notice how I wrote that. Okay, whenever you write one of these complete the square problems, you start writing it with a big gap right here. Well, why would I do it? Well, I need to complete the square. So I take half of this number, 8, square it is positive 64. So that's my complete the square step. But algebra tells me now that I have an equation, now that I have an equal sign, whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do the same thing to the other side of the equation. So this also has to get added over here. I have to keep my equations balanced. So now, just like yesterday, I can factor this, but I know it's going to be x minus 8 squared. Okay? These, combined like terms, it's a 15 and a 64, so that would be 64 minus 15, I believe is 49. Yeah. Now I have an equation I can solve. Remember at the beginning of class yesterday, or the day before yesterday in the notes, we talked about how we can solve an equation like this. I've got a parentheses squared equals 49. Solve the equation. What's the next step? Square root both sides. So now I have x minus 8 equals, what does it equal? Don't forget, plus minus 7. Write your two equations. Set it equal to the 7 and the negative 7. Solve, add 8, add 8. There's your two answers. So if I go back to the original problem, if I plug in 15, 15 squared minus 16 times 15, it's going to equal negative 15. If I plug in 1 squared, it's going to equal negative 15. Those are the two answers to the equation. All right. Conversely, we could graph this. These are our zeros if we graph. It's all related to each other. But that's the complete the square method. All right. Solve by completing the square. Sorry, my mouth's getting a little dry. I had to pause the video. Okay. So, you'll notice sorry, had a guest. So, I take a look at this. Like I said here, I don't want these problems equal to 0. So, the first thing I got to do is I got to get this 8 over here. Got the 8 by itself. I notice I've got this. I can't complete the square with a coefficient. So what I need to do is I need to factor out that coefficient. Again, I left my gap. Follow the same rules. Half of this number is 5. 5 squared is 25. But if there's a coefficient here, you need to notice I didn't put a 25. Technically, I put 2 25s on here. All right, so that gets doubled and it becomes 50. So I multiply this times this to figure out what I am putting on the other side. All right, now we continue as we were. We've got 2. This is going to factor to x plus 5 squared, and this is 58. Solve. I Again, remember back to what we did. I need to divide by 2 first. Yep, 29. Square root. That is wrong. 8, 10. No, we're good. Square root. Sorry. All right, so now a problem like this. Not a perfect square, obviously. 29 is a prime number, it doesn't break down. I need to get x by itself, so I still subtract 5 from both sides, and it looks like this. So minus 5 minus 5. They're not my terms over here, though, so I have negative 5 plus minus root 29. I mentioned the other day, traditional textbooks would keep our answer look just like that. This textbook, if it comes out ugly, they want you to grab a calculator and punch that in as 2 different answers. So, again, you need a real calculator. I've been telling you all year. Negative 5 plus the square root of 29 is 0.39. And then I go negative 5 minus the square root of 29, negative 10.39. So there's my 2 answers. If it comes out ugly, they want that decimal. So we have this, which is the more traditional, and then they have this decimal answer. All right? Questions? Let's see what else we got to talk about today. Do number 5 and number 6 on your own. Okay? So, this is all set up. Half squared, m squared plus 12m. Half is 6 plus 36 is negative 8 plus 36. This is going to be m plus 6 squared. 36 minus 8 is 28. All right. Square root both sides. Not a perfect square, so we're going here. Again, traditional, minus 6 minus 6. Traditional answer looks like this. Big idea is what's this going to the calculators? I don't hate it, I don't love it. Negative 6 plus the square root of 28. So one answer is 0, negative 0.71. And then I go minus negative 11.29. Questions there? All right, let's do 6. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to kick that 27 over, and I'm going to factor the 3 at the same time. So I did a lot there. I did 2 things in that first step. Questions? Okay. Why didn't I factor the 3 out here? Because I want that on the other side. I can't factor it. It doesn't do me any good. I don't want it with here because I got to do the complete the square step. All right. So complete the square. Half of this, is 4 squared is 16. But remember, that's not 16. I'm going to multiply this times this, and I added 48 to both sides. Factor. 47 negative 27 plus 48, 21. Keep going. Solve. Do this first. Don't square root yet. I got to get it by itself. Divide by 3. G minus 4 squared equals 7. Now hit that square root button. G minus 4 is plus minus root 7. Traditional looks like this. I have 4. There's your traditional answer. I grab the calculator. Plus square root 7, 6.65, and 1.35. There's your 2 answers. Questions? All right. And what else do we have to talk about today? Find the minimum. I don't think I asked you this, but I mentioned in the beginning about one of the advantages of this. Well, if you complete the square, all right, so let me walk you through this. Write this down. So I got that +1. I put it over here, add 1 to both sides. Complete the square step. So half of this is 2 squared. So I complete the square step. +4. I got a +4 on both sides. So I combine my terms here. I have y +5. I factor here. I have x squared +2. Sorry, I have x +2 squared. So far, it's just completing the square stuff. Any questions on any of that? Okay. Now, if this isn't how I normally write an equation. I want to bring this back over here. You should recognize that. It's called vertex form. We talked about this a lot when we were graphing. When I look here, I know the vertex is -2, -5. Opposite of what's in parentheses, exactly what's outside. So one of the advantages of the complete the square method is it gets me to this vertex form right away. So now if I want to graph this parabola, I know the vertex is right there at -2, -5. I know there's no stretch on it, so I could do this graph real fast. So, the advantage of this method, it gets me to vertex form, and vertex form I can graph pretty quick, especially if there's no stretch, but if there is a stretch, it's still not real hard to graph once I know where the vertex is. The vertex, getting back to the question it asked me, is also my minimum or maximum value. So right here, I know this is a minimum at -5. That number right there, find the minimum value, -5 is my minimum value. My vertex sets my minimums and maximums. So if I ever ask you for a minimum or maximum, it's complete the square method gets you the vertex, and the vertex tells you your minimum and maximum. All right? So that's another min-max, that's another one, but we've done plenty of those. And I don't think it's on your homework anyway. Get them out, get to work, ask questions. Goodbye.